First story. My daughter smashed my son's PS5 after he refused to let her play on it. So I replaced it and told my son to move on. But he destroyed his sister's console, gave me money to replace it, and told me to move on. So I lost it and punished him and his sister, abused them, and stripped away everything they owned. And now they have abandoned me, and I regret doing this to my kids. My wife and I are currently at odds about this situation, and I'm genuinely torn, so I need some perspective. I'm not here to trash either of my kids or pretend like I'm some perfect parent, but I'll lay out what happened and what's led up to this. We've got two kids, Tyler 16M and Brooke 13F. Tyler's a junior in high school, pretty independent, and academically decent, but not obsessive. He's more into working and saving. He started doing odd jobs and part-time work through a family friend when he was 15, and has been good about budgeting his money. We've always encouraged our kids to earn and manage their own money once they hit a certain age, and so far, he's been really responsible. Brooke's younger, obviously, and still figuring things out. She's a mix of smart and impulsive. She's not intentionally malicious or anything, but she can be careless, especially with tech. Over the last few years, she's broken a tablet dropped in the tub. A Kindle stepped on it while it was under a blanket, and a pair of Tyler's expensive headphones that she borrowed without asking. She didn't mean to ruin any of those things, but it happened. We replaced the tablet and Kindle back then because, frankly, it was on us for not setting better boundaries. The headphones were trickier. Tyler was livid, and it caused a huge blow-up. That incident actually feeds into this one, so I'll explain briefly. After the headphone fiasco, we sat both kids down and made it very clear that they were not to use each other's stuff without permission. We also started reinforcing the idea that if something isn't yours, it's not yours to touch, especially if someone says no. Tyler took that to heart. Brooke, less so. So fast forward to a few months ago. Tyler saved up and bought himself a PS5. He was proud of it. He had wanted one for over a year, and since we're financially well off, I offered to help him pay for it. He said no. He wanted to do it on his own. It took him months, and when he finally got it, he set it up in his room, took great care of it, and kept the box and everything. Now, Brooke has a Nintendo Switch we bought her last Christmas. She likes it and uses it often, but obviously the PS5 is cooler, so she kept asking Tyler if she could play on his. He kept saying no, every single time. I told him maybe he could let her try it once in a while if he's supervised. He flat out refused, citing the past. She's just gonna break it like she breaks everything. I didn't press it. I wanted him to be kind, but it was his money, his console, and after everything that's happened, I didn't feel right forcing the issue. Well, last week is when everything blew up. It started like usual. Tyler was in his room gaming, and Brooke knocked and asked to play. He said no. She left, no argument. I thought that was that. A couple hours later, Tyler and I went to get food, came back home, and heard him start yelling before he even got to his room. I followed him in, and the scene honestly looked like someone had robbed the place. His PS5 was on the floor, near the wall, totally smashed. Not like it fell. Like it was thrown and hit with force. Controller broken. Cables ripped out. He went ballistic, yelling, cursing, red in the face, nearly crying from rage. My wife came running. Brooke was already standing in the hallway sobbing. She admitted she went in and threw it because she was mad and felt like he always gets everything and doesn't share. No remorse, just frustration and tears. I sent Brooke to her room and told Tyler to calm down and that we'd fix it. He wasn't having it. He kept yelling that it wasn't enough. That he wanted Brooke's Switch smashed in front of her, or else it wouldn't be fair. He kept yelling that he worked for it, bought it himself, never touched any of Brooke's stuff, and still got punished. And I mean, I get that. He was right. But I also couldn't let the situation spiral further. I told him to cool down. I grounded Brooke for a month. No devices, no social life, just school and home. Then I told Tyler to get in the car. We drove to GameStop, and I paid out of pocket for a brand new PS5, same model, same everything. I told him, "You're the kid. It's my job to make it right when your sibling messes up like this." He didn't say a word the entire ride back. Not thanks, not screw you, nothing. Just silent. When we got home, he looked me in the eye and said, "Still not fair. She destroyed mine for no reason, and you gave her a timeout." I repeated that her Switch would not be broken, but she was punished, and he got a replacement. He said nothing, went to his room, and slammed the door. The next morning, I'm working from home and suddenly hear screaming from Brooke's room. I go upstairs and find her Switch completely destroyed, screen cracked, Joy-Cons ripped off, casing dented like someone hit it with a hammer. Tyler was sitting in the hallway just staring. A baseball bat is next to him. When I asked him what the hell he was thinking, he didn't yell or argue. He calmly stood up, walked to his room, came back, and handed me $300 in cash and walked away. I stood there holding the $300, and I swear the way he handed it over pissed me off more than if he'd yelled in my face. It wasn't about the money. It was the message. I did what I wanted. Here's your payment. We're done. I told my wife what happened. She went quiet, then just sighed and said, "Well, you told him if he broke it, he had to pay for it." He did. I told her that's not the point. He didn't just break it, he premeditated it. Waited overnight, took a baseball bat, and destroyed it while Brooke was watching. That's revenge, not a heat-of-the-moment outburst. He chose to escalate it after we thought it was over. And yeah, technically he followed the deal I laid out. But that doesn't mean I just let it go. She disagrees. She says he didn't lash out at Brooke directly. He didn't hurt her. He waited. He accepted the consequence, then asked, "What more do you want from him?" I want respect. I want him to understand that just because he has money doesn't mean he gets to ignore what we say. He didn't come to us. He didn't talk it through. He took justice into his own hands and acted like dropping cash on the situation absolved him. That's not how our family works. I brought it up with him later that day, calmly. I told him what he did wasn't okay. That it felt like a giant middle finger to the rules, to our authority, to the family. I asked him if he thought that was the right way to handle things. He said, "You said break it and pay." I paid. If Brooke can throw my SHT and still have hers, I'm making it equal. That was it. No remorse. Just logic. His version of fairness. And honestly, this isn't totally out of character for him. Tyler's always been black and white with fairness. A few years ago, when Brooke got caught lying about something small, like sneaking extra tablet time after bedtime, we grounded her for a few days. A week later, Tyler found out she sneaked Oreos from the pantry and demanded she get grounded again. He's the type to keep score. Every dent, every slight. And when he thinks someone gets away with something, he doesn't let it go. We've tried to address that with him over the years. Talked about empathy, about context. But this went beyond keeping score. He chose vengeance, knew the cost, and paid it like it was a parking ticket. Brooke's been upset ever since. And yeah, she started it. She 100% wrecked his PS5. And that was completely out of line. She's grounded, and I've made it clear she's not getting a replacement. She doesn't work, and she doesn't earn, so she's going to have to live without it until Christmas or longer. But seeing Tyler take a bat to her Switch while she screamed at him to stop has shaken her. She won't go near him now. She avoids the upstairs when she hears him coming. My wife says that's enough punishment on its own. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe Tyler made his point and got the short end of the stick first. But part of me feels like if I let this go, I'm telling both of them that revenge is fine if you can afford it. That if your sibling trashes something and your parents step in, you can just handle it your own way anyway. Those rules don't matter if you're willing to pay the penalty. That's what's bothering me. Not the money. Not the broken Switch. The principle. Tyler heard me say, "Don't destroy her stuff." And his response was, "Okay, but if I do, I'll pay, so screw it." And then just did it. I know some people are going to say I set the terms, and he followed them. That I should have been clearer. Maybe that's true. But I didn't think I needed to explain that "you'll pay for it" didn't mean "you have my permission." Now I'm stuck. If I punish him again, ground him, take away the console I just replaced, I look like I'm going back on my word. My wife already thinks I'm being too harsh even considering it. But if I don't do anything, what message am I sending? Tyler doesn't seem to feel bad. Doesn't act out. But he's ice cold. He's in his room most of the time. Won't talk to Brooke. Barely talks to us. He's not pouting. He's just done. Like he considers the matter closed. And maybe that's what's getting to me most. Not the act itself, but how calculated it was, like he's already moved on. So, Reddit Ada for wanting to punish him further, even though he technically followed the consequence I gave him. Any thoughts? Comments? Comment 1. YTA, sorry. But this whole situation is your fault. You basically taught your daughter that actions have no consequences, and your son that even when he follows your rules, he still gets screwed. Let's break this down. Your daughter smashes a $500+ console out of pure spite. You ground her, which, let's be real, is nothing when you turn around and immediately buy your son a new one with your money. Why? Because you're the parent and it's your job. Nah, man. That should have been her job. She breaks it. She owes him. That's what teaches consequences. So then your son, already pissed, because you didn't let her face a real penalty, does exactly what you said he could do. pays for the damage and walks away. You don't get to be mad that he actually did it. You gave him a price tag for revenge. He paid. Now you're all shocked Pikachu because it feels disrespectful. Newsflash. Your kid doesn't respect your authority because you undermined yourself first. You handled both situations totally differently. And now you're wondering why your household's on fire. Maybe stop trying to fix things with your wallet and actually make them face real accountability. Comment 2. I'm going to go against the grain here a bit. NTA. I think your issue is not that your son destroyed the Switch. It's that he showed you that your authority doesn't carry weight unless it's backed with consistency, and that stings. Your wife wants to brush it under the rug because technically he followed the rules. But you know he exploited your wording and did something spiteful, calculated, and emotionally damaging to his sister. That's not something you shrug off just because he handed over some cash. I'd be worried less about the property and more about the emotional dynamics here. Brooke wasn't just upset. She lost her Switch. She was scared of her brother. That's not normal sibling tension. That's a breakdown in trust. He wanted her to feel what he felt, and he succeeded. You're right to be uncomfortable. Not because you want control, but because you can see what's brewing long term. 2 kids growing up in the same house, treating each other like enemies. You need to put a stop to that now. Not with more punishment, but with a serious sit down, maybe even counseling. Both your kids are acting out in dangerous ways, and I think you're the only one who sees the iceberg ahead. Update. It's been about 7 months since I posted about the PS5/Switch disaster between my kids. A lot's changed in our house since then, and I figured I'd post an update, mostly because I can't tell if I finally got control of my family, or if I've just completely broken it. After that incident, things didn't calm down. My wife and I kept butting heads over consequences and parenting styles. She wanted to move on. I wanted to make sure nothing like that ever happened again. The tension was awful for weeks. We barely spoke. The kids avoided us, and every dinner turned into silent chewing and side-eye. Then I visited an old friend, Mark. He's got 3 kids, all respectful, polite, never talk back, help around the house, straight A's, all that. I told him what had happened, and he didn't sugarcoat it. He said, "You're being too soft. You let your kids negotiate respect. They're playing you." That hit hard. He wasn't wrong. I kept trying to be the fair guy, the one who sees both sides, and all it got me was 2 kids who thought they could outsmart me, and a wife who thought I was overreacting. So I changed course. Hard. The day after I got back from visiting Mark, I called a family meeting. I told everyone straight up, things are changing. From now on, respect and responsibility are non-negotiable. I took every console out of the house. I sold what I could and said there would be no new gaming systems for at least a year. I told Tyler the $300 he'd handed me for Brooke's Switch wasn't his get-out-of-jail-free card. I put that money straight into a joint savings account and told him it would go towards his college fund. The same with Brooke. I took what was left of her birthday money and did the same. They didn't like it. Tyler called me a hypocrite. Brooke cried. My wife said I was going too far. I didn't budge. I started implementing some new rules. No locks on bedroom doors, no electronics after 9 p.m., and chores became mandatory, not optional dishes, laundry, mowing, cooking once a week. They had to clock their hours in a notebook I kept in the kitchen. If they missed something, I doubled their task the next day. Schoolwork still came first, but I didn't tolerate excuses anymore. When I got pushback, I enforced silence. If you can't talk respectfully, you don't talk at all. That became the rule. Brooke wrote an apology letter to Tyler for breaking his PS5, but I took it further. I made her read it aloud at dinner. She was shaking the whole time, crying halfway through it. I made Tyler listen quietly, and when she finished, I told him to say, "I forgive you." He muttered it. I didn't care if he meant it or not. My wife was furious after that. Said I humiliated Brooke. I told her maybe humiliation was the only language she understood, because clearly grounding didn't work. A couple months into this new routine, things got quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Just dead quiet. Tyler and Brooke stopped fighting, but they also stopped talking altogether. They stay in their rooms unless I call them for dinner or chores. Tyler started working longer shifts at his weekend job, just to avoid being home. Brooke spends most of her free time in the backyard or at the neighbor's house. My wife and I barely speak unless it's about logistics, bills, appointments, schedules. She says I've sucked the warmth out of the house. Maybe she's right, but at least the house isn't chaos anymore. There's order. Mark came over a few weeks ago. Said the kids looked a lot more disciplined. I took that as a compliment. But lately, I'm not so sure. The other night, I overheard Brooke talking to her friend on the phone. She didn't know I was outside her door. I couldn't make out what her friend said, but Brooke said, "He's calmer, but it's like living in a boot camp. I just keep my head down and wait to turn 18. That one hit. Then Tyler and I had an argument over curfew. He came home 15 minutes late. I told him his car privileges were suspended for a week. He looked me dead in the eye and said, 'You don't even care about being fair anymore.' I told him, 'Life isn't fair.' He laughed. My wife's been sleeping in the guest room for the last month. She says she's not scared of me, but doesn't like who I've become. She says she misses the version of me who tried to understand, who didn't run the family like a drill sergeant. I told her, 'You had your turn. You wanted to talk things out, and that didn't work. Now we're doing things my way.' She just nodded and said, 'Yeah, I guess we are.' I won't pretend I'm not proud of the order I've created. The house runs efficiently now. Chores get done. Nobody's screaming. Nothing's getting smashed. But the silence feels wrong. Like I fixed the noise but killed everything else. I look at other families now and can't tell what normal even looks like anymore. I wanted respect, but now it just feels like fear. I wanted structure, but now it feels like isolation. Even Mark pulled me aside last week and said, 'Don't go too far. Discipline's not supposed to look like punishment all the time.' So that's where I'm at. The kids don't fight. My wife barely speaks to me. The house is clean, quiet, and efficient. And I can't tell if I've finally done the right thing, or if I've just wrecked what little relationship we had left. I keep telling myself, this is what good parenting looks like: rules, boundaries, accountability. But lately, when I walk past their rooms and hear nothing, I start wondering if I'm just raising two kids who can't wait to leave and never come back. I wanted to make them better. Now I don't even know what better means anymore. So, Reddit, am I fixing this family? Or just effing it up worse? Comments. Comment 1. This is hard to read, because it's obvious you genuinely think you're solving the problem, and you've just bulldozed the entire emotional infrastructure of your family to do it. You didn't fix the chaos. You just replaced it with silence and submission. You think your kids are better now. They're quiet, not respectful. They're obedient, not growing. Brooke is 13 and already strategizing how to emotionally survive in your house until she escapes. Tyler is keeping score in silence, and when he does explode, it'll be long after you've convinced yourself the storm has passed. You don't have a household anymore. You have a controlled environment. You stripped your kids of agency, connection, and communication because that felt safer to you than navigating their messiness like a parent. And your wife. She's not even arguing anymore. That's not peace. That's surrender. You didn't fix anything. You just buried the damage under a thick layer of fear and called it discipline. And now you're confused why you feel empty. Comment 2. Bro, your friend sold you the Navy SEAL dad fantasy, and you bought it wholesale. And now you're sitting in your quiet, spotless house wondering why it feels like a damn tomb. Let me spell this out. Mark's kids behave because they respect their dad. Your kids behave because they're scared of you. That's a massive difference. You didn't just lay down structure. You weaponized it. You used their mistakes to justify full control. No electronics, no privacy, forced confessions at the dinner table, emotional exile. I mean, Jesus making your daughter read an apology letter aloud like it's some kind of courtroom sentencing. That wasn't discipline, man. That was ego. And now you're getting what you built. Kids who check out, a wife who resents you, and a home you can't even enjoy. You were so afraid of being disrespected. You became a tyrant just to feel in charge. Tyler was wrong to retaliate with the switch, yeah. But he was right when he said this isn't about fairness anymore. You're not confused, OP. You know damn well you F'd this up. You just want someone else to say it first. Update. It's been a little over 2 years since I posted about the PS5 and the whole mess that followed. I don't even know why I'm writing this now. Maybe because the silence I used to think I wanted has finally swallowed me whole. Back then, I thought I was fixing my family. Making things better. Bringing structure, discipline, and respect. Now I'm sitting in a half-empty house wondering if I even have a family left. After I went full structure, as I called it, things stayed calm for a while. The house ran like a machine. Chores got done, schoolwork was on time, and nobody raised their voice. It looked perfect from the outside. People even complimented me, said they wish their kids were that disciplined. But under the surface, everything was rotting. Tyler stopped talking to me entirely, except when I gave him direct instructions. He worked part-time after school and started staying out later and later. I thought he was just being a typical teenager testing limits, so I cracked down harder curfews, check-ins, stricter schedules. He followed every rule, to the letter. But it wasn't respect. It was indifference. He turned 18 last spring. On graduation day, I was waiting for him to come home for dinner. He didn't. I called, texted, nothing. Finally got a message that night. Don't bother waiting up. I moved out. I'll get my stuff later. That was it. No fight, no drama. Just gone. I haven't seen him since except once, briefly, when he came to pick up the last of his boxes. He was polite, distant, and cold. Like talking to a stranger. Brooke was a different story. She tried to adapt. Tried to be the good kid. But you could tell it was breaking her. She went from being loud and curious to withdrawn. Grades slipped. She stopped talking to friends. One night, I found her sitting in her room crying, and when I asked what was wrong, she just said, "I can't do anything right anymore." That should have been my wake-up call. Instead, I gave her another lecture about attitude and effort. A few months later, her school counselor called. Brooke had a panic attack in class, and they couldn't calm her down. They recommended therapy. My first reaction was to argue I said she was just stressed. That therapy was for people who couldn't handle responsibility. But my wife pushed. Said we were going whether I liked it or not. We went. After the first session, she told me Brooke's anxiety was severe and chronic, caused by emotional rigidity at home. Those were her words. She didn't say abuse, but she didn't have to. It hung in the air. She suggested family therapy. I agreed. I thought it would finally give me a chance to explain my side. Instead, it turned into 2 months of everyone unloading on me. My wife said she felt like she'd been living in an authoritarian experiment. Brooke cried through most sessions. At one point, the therapist asked me, "Do you want to be right? Or do you want to have a relationship with your family?" I didn't answer. Because at the time, I honestly didn't know. After that session, my wife stopped wearing her wedding ring. Last winter, Brooke had another breakdown. Couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. Her therapist called it emotional burnout. My wife moved her temporarily into her sister's house, so she could recover somewhere peaceful. A few weeks later, I came home from work, and the house felt wrong. Too quiet, too clean. Half the furniture is gone. Her car is missing. She'd taken Brooke and moved out. No warning this time. Just a note on the kitchen counter. Please get help. That was 8 months ago. I tried to fight it at first, called, texted, and even showed up at my sister-in-law's house. My wife refused to talk to me directly. She said everything would go through her lawyer. She didn't file for divorce right away, but we're separated. Brooke's therapist apparently advised limited contact. Tyler never reached out. My wife says he's in college now, doing fine, with a part-time job and good grades. She said he doesn't want any contact with me. So now it's just me. The house I once kept spotless feels like a museum. I stopped doing the chore schedule and stopped enforcing anything because there's no one left to enforce it on. The fridge has takeout boxes and beer. Laundry piles up. I go to work, come home, and sit in silence. I thought that was peace once. It's not. It's emptiness. I don't even know if I regret the rules themselves. The problem wasn't structure, it was how I used it. I told myself I was teaching discipline, but what I was really doing was punishing emotion. Every time my kids pushed back or acted human, I took it as disrespect. Every boundary I set became a power test I had to win. When the therapist told me Brooke's panic attacks were a symptom of fear, not stress, I refused to hear it. When my wife told me she was done trying to talk, I treated her silence like a challenge. And now the house is silent, and I've won nothing. I tried reaching out again recently. Sent Tyler a message for his birthday. Just said, "Proud of you. Hope you're doing okay." No reply. Brooke sent me one text after months. "I'm not ready to talk yet. Maybe someday." That's it. My wife emailed about the legal separation paperwork last week. She said it's not anger anymore, just exhaustion. I know what that means. She's done for good. Mark, the friend who told me to tighten up, came by once. He said, "You did what you thought was right." I laughed. Told him, "Yeah, and it cost me everything." He didn't have an answer for that. So here I am 2 years after a fight over a broken PS5, sitting in a silent house, wondering how the hell I ended up here. I built my entire parenting style around the idea that being respected mattered more than being understood. Turns out, you can get respect through fear, but it doesn't last. It just leaves when they do. I used to think losing control was the worst thing that could happen. But losing everyone because I kept control, that's worse. Way worse. So yeah, Reddit, I got my order. My rules. My quiet. And I'd trade every bit of it just to hear my kids slam a door again. Second story. The wedding coordinator canceled a day before my wedding, won't refund my full deposit, and is demanding that I sign a non-disparagement agreement to avoid leaving a negative review or making any remarks. Location: Pennsylvania. We got married in the afternoon of Saturday, 9/13. In the early morning of Friday, 9/12, our day of coordinator sent an email that she was canceling her event management service due to an unforeseen personal matter. Most of what was listed as services in the original contract didn't happen because they were in-person services for the day of the wedding, providing bathroom baskets, setting up before the ceremony, helping line up and cue the processional, coordinating the timing of speeches, cake cutting, etc. Though she had helped us with the timeline, so we did get some service. It was a very stressful 24 hours, but thankfully all of our other vendors went above and beyond to still make things run smoothly. In the original contract, it states that in the event of illness or other unforeseen circumstances where the primary contact is unavailable, they will make every reasonable effort to find a replacement. Considering that a few days before, she said on the phone her assistant would be available should anything happen, she had flaked on another scheduled commitment. So I asked. It was quite a surprise when we got the full cancellation email. She also attached a letter saying that she would refund 50% and at the bottom put a non-disparagement agreement that stated, as part of this cancellation and refund arrangement, both parties agree to refrain from making any negative or disparaging remarks, written or verbal, about one another in any capacity, including online platforms, social media, or other public forums. My question is twofold. We are going to try and get all our money back, or at least 75%, and threaten her with either a Venmo dispute we paid as goods and services less than 180 days ago or small claims court. I think with all the email and text evidence we have, we'd have a good case for breach of contract. But the total amount of the service was around $950. I'm not sure if it's worth it. If we wait until getting the money back, are we not allowed to write a negative review based on her non-disparagement agreement? I didn't sign anything to that effect. We definitely want to warn other couples planning their wedding about her. Edited to add. In the cancellation letter, there was nothing for me to sign, just a statement. I would not have signed it. But there wasn't even an option to. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, for $237, I think that's the difference between 50% and 75%. It's not worth the expense and the time taken off of work to sue her. If you post a bad review, then she probably takes the 50% offer off the table, and you don't know what happened. Maybe she's a flake. Maybe she got into a bad car accident that night, or her mother had a heart attack and died, and her assistant was at another wedding. Maybe it was one of those life catastrophes. Maybe she's a doofus. I'd want to know more before posting a bad review. I'd ask for 75%, and if she agrees, take it. If she doesn't agree, I'd probably take the 50%. OP, thanks for the response. Good point about the price difference. It was more on principle. If I had canceled on her within 30 days, she would have kept 75% per the contract. Regarding the second point, what makes me really want to write the review is shortly after we had signed, she reached out about a Venmo dispute that turned out to be with a different bride who had the same first name as me. She told me that the other bride had called off the wedding, but was wanting a refund, which seemed logical at the time but suspicious in retrospect. Commenter 2. Obviously, I don't know this person at all, but I think we should all keep in mind that when someone says they had a personal emergency and they had to cancel a work commitment, there is a very good chance that it is a genuine emergency, such as a death in the family or a major health problem. I would not jump straight to threats. The reality is that you're not going to get lawyers involved here. It's just not worth it. OP, yes, you're correct. Except that she had told me 3 days before canceling that it was a contingency plan. She had confirmed that the assistant planner did not have another wedding the same day and would be available if necessary. The reality is that if our other vendors, the venue in particular, hadn't been so amazing, our wedding would have been a total mess since we hired her specifically to coordinate setup off the venue and vendor item drop off the day of. I would, of course, not say anything personally disparaging in the review besides the facts. But I do think it is important for others to know, when considering her company, that they did not follow through on their stated backup plan should an unforeseen circumstance occur. Commenter 3. So what happened to the assistant planner? Did she never explain why she wasn't available? OP, nope. No explanation. We got the email that she was canceling the event management services at 1 a.m. Friday morning. But we had the start of wedding activities Friday, so I decided we would just put it from our minds until Monday so as not to lay a damper on our celebrations. Thus far, we have not responded to the cancellation email. We're considering our options before responding, hence, picking the collective minds of this subreddit. Commenter 4. Wedding planner here. This happened to me once. I delivered a baby 5 weeks early. I had a little more time, 2 weeks, to hand off the wedding. But I paid the fee they paid me, and an extra $700, because that's what it cost to find someone reputable to take care of them. Go for a 100% refund for a non-disparaging agreement. If she gave you her run of show to operate from, I could reasonably see a 75 to 80% refund. But if she didn't hand over any assets, I'd go after the full amount. Even if she invested time to understand how to execute her services, for example, site tour, she didn't deliver the services. I'm so sorry that happened. But it sounds like your vendor team was amazing. OP, thanks. This is helpful context. I would be more understanding. Life happens. If she hadn't assured me that there was a backup assistant that was available who never materialized. I didn't mention it in my original post because I noticed it wasn't in the original contract. But she did schedule a venue tour with my husband, myself, and the venue operator the week before, which she confirmed and then also canceled 10 hours later. Thanks for affirming my thoughts that this is not a normal behavior for a planner doc running a business. Commenter 5. I would need more than a 50% refund to sign a non-disparagement agreement. Update. Location: Pennsylvania. Hi everyone, just wanted to provide an update on my previous post, now that everything is resolved. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to comment. We read through every one, and it really helped us decide what to do. Now, on to the update. We decided to email a long list of the ways we believed they breached our contract, including not making any effort to find a replacement if an unexpected circumstance arose, and asked for a full refund within 7 days. They responded, saying they would only be able to provide a 50% refund after we signed the non-disparagement agreement. Good job to those of you who thought they would eventually ask for us to sign it. We responded saying we would sign the non-disparagement agreement if we were provided a 75% refund. As one commentator suggested, our plan was to then write a non-review review. We cannot say more publicly, but please DM if you are thinking of working with this company in our local wedding Facebook groups. They responded, saying that due to still needing to pay their staff despite the cancellation, they could only provide a 50% refund, but that we were welcome to do a Venmo dispute for the full amount, and they would honor it. We did file a Venmo dispute. We had paid using goods and services and included all of the correspondence, original contract, etc. The day of coordinator must have promptly not contested with Venmo because they ruled in our favor the next day. They did reach out and asked us to confirm that we received the money. We responded saying we did and have not had any further contact. Since we did not sign any non-disparagement agreement, we are planning to post a review. A few of you suggested that they might have double booked, but we didn't see anything on their socials as of today. I guess we'll never know if they did have a family emergency and didn't have their supposedly confirmed backup available, or if it was some kind of a scam. But at least we got our full money back, and don't need to worry about them suing us for defamation since we never signed anything. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.